Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are taking a bit of a break from the usual art videos and I wanted to talk about my experience with having a cleft lip, which I've never really spoken about on the internet before, but I searched it up on YouTube a few months ago. I was trying to find people who had similar experiences to me, and I mean YouTube search isn't super amazing if you're not searching for how to do something and you're searching for vibe-based experiences, but what really shocked me was that all of the videos that came up were of babies and kids and just parents posting their kids going oh my god, I can't believe this happened to me. It is still raising awareness, but I just thought that I haven't really seen many people my age speak about it. I thought that it would be interesting for me to speak about how I've experienced it. Firstly, I wanted to talk a bit about what a cleft lip actually is and why it might happen. The two main causes is either alcohol fetal syndrome or genetics. For me it was genetic. In the womb, your brain fuses out of two sections and sometimes that malfunctions and doesn't happen properly. That means that you can end up having basically just a split lip. It can be either unilateral, which is what I have, or it can be bilateral, which is where you have a split down both of your nostrils down to your lips. Yeah, that's basically it. Sometimes you have issues with your hearing. I'm really lucky that I don't have that. Another thing, you can also get split palates, which often come with that, or sometimes people just have a split palate, but usually it's kind of both because they're caused by the same thing. I have a split palate, but my doctor didn't it was never really brought up until I was older because I believe it is covered. I can feel it with my tongue where my palate ends. It's rather than being kind of smooth like most people's, it kind of goes in like that, but it's not affected my speech. It's really subtle, so that's good. Now I am going to speak about my more objective experience. I've got 3 points here, so if I start sounding crazy, it's because I haven't really written a script for this. My plan is to talk a bit about kind of the objective side of things and what happened throughout my life with treatments and things, and then I'm going to talk a bit about how it's affected me and the mental side of things, as well as how it affects me now that I'm mostly done with my treatment and now that I'm an adult. Yay. So the objective side of things, I had surgery when I was a baby, so I obviously don't remember that. I was about a few months old. That was just to connect the two sides of my lips together. So because you're born with a slit, they cut a little bit more. They cut the skin off the ends and sew them together basically, and that means you have a complete upper lip, which makes drinking, talking easier, and makes you easier on other people's eyes as well, which is always the plus. And the next surgery I had, I was 9, and I remember that I wasn't really told what was going to happen. I thought they were gonna do a plastic surgery on my lip and that it was going to look different. However, again, I don't know if they didn't tell me what was going to happen or if I just somehow missed it or didn't understand it, but what they actually did was they moved my tooth down, so my teeth were kind of angled upwards and I was missing a bit of bone in my palate. So they took some of my hip bone and they put it in my mouth to basically fill in that hole. And that's been fine. I remember I thought I was going to die during the surgery, but I didn't tell anyone. I just kind of, when they put me to sleep, I was just yep, that's it. And obviously I woke up and everything was fine, but for some reason I was just always, I guess, an anxious child. Yeah, and I woke up and my leg was hurting, so I was really surprised about that because I didn't expect it to be. Again, it's not that anyone lied to me, it's just I don't think I understood what was happening, and maybe they didn't go into enough detail. Oh yes, one more thing I didn't mention. I was born in Lithuania, so all of the surgeries I'm talking about happened in Lithuania, and then because we moved to England, I had like orthodontic treatment here, and I may be having more surgery here. So yeah, I thought that was worth mentioning. Yeah, since then, I have experienced like a little bit of pain. Sometimes this bit of my mouth hurts, and just like feels slightly sore and like not swollen, but like it feels quite tender. And I don't know why. I can feel that bit is slightly like separate from the rest of it. Like it feels different. Not majorly different, but there's like a slight curve in my palate. That is such a minor thing that I rarely really think about it. And post that surgery, I don't think much treatment happened until I was 16, which is when I had a more like plastic surgery. It was corrective to my lip, and what the surgeon did was he moved, I don't actually know what exactly happened, but he moved a bit of this like over here to because this part of my lip where the scar is slightly thicker, so in order to even it out, they kind of moved a bit of it around. I'm not entirely sure what they did, but it does look better. And they also redid my scar. Like I have like a slight white bit here. They went over that. I haven't really compared many pictures, but I feel like it didn't make a crazy amount of difference in terms of that white bit. In terms of my lips, I feel like they do feel and look different. And the main thing that it did for me was during that period, like, I'll talk about it a bit later, but before that, I was really, really self-conscious, and this plastic surgery gave me an opportunity to just kind of not lie to myself, but be like, oh yes, like, no one notices this now. I have that big mental change, which I think was great for me, so I'm really happy that that happened. So that's all the surgeries I've had, and then I also had braces and I'm not sure what it's called. It's like what Mike Wazowski had. It's like a plastic thing. It's like braces, but you can take them out basically. From about age 8, I wore the like plastic thing, and what that does, or at least what I believe it does, is it moves your teeth slightly apart so that the braces have space to turn your teeth around the correct way, if that makes sense. So I wore that, I believe, for 3 years, from age 8 to like age 11. And then around 11, all of my milk teeth fell out, so I got braces. Wait, I think I actually got braces in primary school, so I must have been 10. It doesn't really matter, but I had braces for about 3 years, and as you can see, my teeth are still not perfect because I stopped wearing my retainers, and also my dentist kind of didn't like me. No, I think this is a good time to talk about it. I thought I would put this in the more like subjective section, but this is the only real issue I ever had. And what happened was, he didn't really explain to me how I should take care of them, which I know I could have googled, but I was like really lazy and 11, so I didn't really realize when I first got them that there was like a protocol of how to take care of them. And so they kept breaking off my teeth, like the braces kept falling off, especially this tooth, which was the kind of problem tooth that was out of place the most. Like, I remember my dentist saying my orthodontist rather, I remember him saying like, oh, they keep breaking off, so let's just take them off, or something along those lines, which is crazy to think about now, but at the time I was like 13, 14, I didn't really like think about it, or like the consequences of it. I think if that were to happen to me now, I think I would ask for a different doctor, because the one time he was away and someone else did my braces, they like stayed on fine. So either he was doing something wrong or like I was doing something wrong, but either way I feel like we didn't bond. I've had an offer to get braces again, so I think I'll definitely give that a go if that's available, but I'm not sure if that will be free or not, because I'm no longer a child, so I don't know. As you can see, my teeth are pretty good. It's just when I'm talking, sometimes it looks like I'm missing a tooth here because it's a bit in the shadow. After my braces were taken off, I had this tooth filled, so half of it's fake because it was smaller than my teeth on my other side, so I had a gap here. They used like a UV thing to fill that tooth in, and I've been super happy with that. It's never come off in the like 6 years I've had it now, so yeah, I'm super grateful for that, and I think that made a big difference. But yeah, aside from that orthodontist, which I think it was kind of a mutual issue, it wasn't entirely his fault, I've had quite a good experience with the healthcare in both countries. In the past 3 years, I got lip filler to even out my lip. I don't think it did a crazy amount. I feel like it went away pretty quickly. My doctor said that I should get it before committing to getting a fat transfer. Again, it's just to this side of my lip because it's slightly smaller. The lip filler was quite interesting because I don't really have a strong like Cupid's bow or these bits, and she filled a little bit in there, so it felt really strange. I couldn't stop feeling my like upper lip because I suddenly had this like really neat little thing. So okay, onto the like mental side of things and how it's affected me throughout my life. So when I was a kid, I obviously knew there was something different about me, but I didn't really care. To age 7, which is like a period I remember quite well, I went to the same school and I had friends and it was all quite good. And then my family moved, so I ended up going to 2 more primary schools, which was quite difficult for me, and I didn't get many friends, and I think my self-esteem kind of dwindled from there. And because I was foreign and I was like kind of seen as different, I did start blaming it on the fact I had a cleft. So whether or not that's true is like subjective. I doubt it is, but I began to feel more and more self-conscious about it. I think it's worth clarifying that even though I did get surgery in Lithuania, we actually moved to England when I was 4, so I wasn't that foreign. And a lot of my kind of feeling of like foreignness was from the fact that I just felt my family was a bit different. It was this like cultural divide from the kind of attitude we had at home versus the like English side of things. It was a big cultural difference, and it really confused me. I went through primary school basically without any bullying, but I didn't have many friends in the later primary schools that I went to. So when I went into secondary school, I did get a big friend group pretty quickly, but people began to like notice that I had a cleft and kind of comment on it. Not often. I think one guy like asked me what it was. I think there was another guy who had a cleft in my school, and his friends dared him to ask me out as a joke. And then like my friend said that he saw an ad for kids in Africa who have clefts, and then he brought it up to his mom and she said I was beautiful or something like that, which they're not necessarily like bad interactions or like things that made me feel self-conscious about it, but the main thing that happened is that I never started talking about it. Like, I never brought it up to my friends, which kind of made it a bit awkward, and it was something that I definitely started to feel a bit self-conscious about. And then I turned 14 and I got really self-conscious about it. It was just a really tough time for me. I don't really know what to say. It just became a really big issue for me. I think I felt isolated for other reasons. I felt isolated because, I don't know, I just felt really depressed and bad and anxious. And I kind of channeled all of my problems into this when in reality I doubt it was ever an issue. But it made me really, really self-conscious. And I just remember this one scene where I was in a supermarket and I don't know, I just remember thinking like, oh, the cashier probably thinks you're like subhuman or something. And it kind of did spiral. I felt like I was never gonna like date anyone. I was really embarrassed about any crushes I had. Yeah, I just felt like it made me fundamentally different from everyone else. This all culminated in me having to film a video of myself for Spanish pen pal I had. Because my mum was filming it, it was like flipped. So I had a bit of a breakdown and my mum contacted the like cleft clinic that I was listed at in England, and I got a therapist, which I think is quite nice how they offer therapy. However, I think I'm currently on the waiting list for therapy. That time I got it pretty quickly, or maybe within like 6 months, maybe not quickly, but currently I feel like I've been on that list for like 2 years. So that's not exactly helpful because I feel like mental health is it's something that needs to be addressed immediately, otherwise it either gets worse or just gets kind of buried and worthless. At that time I got a therapist pretty quickly. I don't remember him being particularly useful though. Maybe it was my kind of mentality at the time. I did have a bit of like a victim complex. I was quite like closed off. And I know that's what they're meant to work on, but yeah, I don't exactly remember much, even though I did go to quite a few therapy sessions with the guy. I remember it making me feel worse, to be honest, because there's one thing if you feel bad, and then there's the other thing of like, if everyone starts running around you going like, oh my god, you feel terrible, don't you? Oh, you're so weird, we need to give you therapy and surgery because you're so weird. Eventually, that ended with me saying that I was like really depressed and things like that, so he transferred me to CAMS, and that was just, everyone knows, everyone's had like a bad experience with CAMS in the UK. If you don't know, CAMS is like the youth mental health service, and they're just notoriously bad. I understand that they're underfunded, and I'm sure like the people are working hard with what they have. I'll briefly mention it, it's a whole story in its own, but the lady I spoke to for like my kind of diagnostic, she kind of started talking about how she hates going to work and how she feels like dying rather than going to work, and she was like, is it in that way or is it in the actual depression way? And I was just a bit put off by that, at least in retrospect. It was a bit weird. And they didn't like diagnose me with anything. They just said you have like low mood, and they wanted to treat me for like obsessive compulsive things as well. But again, they didn't like give me a formal diagnosis because apparently they can't do that, or like at least the lady I was speaking to couldn't do that, which I really wish I pushed for some kind of diagnosis, because I feel like that could have helped me in school as well, because my school treated people with a diagnosis very differently from everyone else. But yeah, CAMS was just strange. Back to the main topic. So I started feeling really withdrawn about this and kind of really caring what people think. Yeah, I just felt like I was really removed from society. I started having issues with food, and eventually I dropped out of school for about a year, and I was kind of homeschooled because my like anxiety and my depression got quite bad, so I just refused to go to school. It was just quite a difficult time, and I'm sure this element of feeling like there was something unfixable about me that meant I couldn't fit in definitely affected me. It also just affected how much I tried in social situations. Nowadays, I'm a lot more optimistic. I don't think people think I'm some kind of weird monster, but at the time, I felt like people were predisposed to dislike me just because of how I looked, which was really silly. The best way to think about it isn't the whole like love yourself kind of fake positivity thing. I think it's thinking about yourself from the other person's point of view and telling yourself that they probably like that you have flaws. Whenever you notice flaws in someone else, it makes them feel more human and it makes them feel less scary and more relatable. Like, think about last time you spoke to someone who was like perfect in your eyes. It was probably quite scary and you probably felt like you had to be someone you're not to impress them. Whereas when you're talking to someone who you know has some flaws, it's so much better. And I think about it that way now. I think if I notice that someone's looking at my lip, or if I feel like they are, I think like they probably feel more comfortable now because they know I'm not perfect and they know that I'm probably maybe more accepting of any flaws that they might have. I just feel like it's usually a positive thing in interactions. I feel like having flaws is never talked about as being a positive thing in interactions. It's always talked about as like, oh, it's what makes you you, but I think it's what makes you like more relatable, right? Even if it's different from what flaws other people have, it's still a flaw that they can relate to in some way. Right, so where was I? So after I dropped out of school, I ended up going back to my GCSEs, and that was all fine. I didn't really have many friends by that point. After I finished secondary school, was the summer that I got my last surgery. I got that back in Lithuania. As again, I don't really know why. My mom did all of the kind of that administrative stuff. The main reason I'm not getting surgery in Lithuania again and I'm going to prefer England is because they keep you there for a week. They keep you inpatient for a week after having a really minor surgery on your face. When my doctor here heard that, he was like, what the fuck? The food there was good. However, being in a hospital, I didn't figure out how to connect to the Wi-Fi, first of all. So I was just kind of lying there for a week on a lot of medication, which just made me have really weird dreams about like death and stuff, and I just felt like I was going insane. My mom came over like once or twice, which was nice, but there was like a limit on how much someone can visit, and I think it was during COVID, so it was during the tail end of COVID, so it was very, very restrictive. And I think you had to do like a COVID test to even come in. I found that really, really mentally challenging. I think I had the surgery on like a Monday, and on Friday they were like, oh, we might keep you for the weekend and sign you out on Monday. And my mom came over and I had a massive breakdown. I was like, if they keep me here for longer, I'm going insane. This is not working. So when I heard that in England they send you straight home, basically, I was very happy because that was an awful experience. Again, the food was nice, the nurses, everyone was lovely, but it was just a really, really tough experience. After that surgery, I did feel a lot better. I decided that I was going to treat it as kind of my treatment being done, because beforehand I had this mentality that someday I will have surgery and I will magically be normal and everything will be fixed and no one can notice anything. So I kind of decided that even though I was still like not happy, like my nose is still not symmetrical, my lip isn't perfect, but I decided that for myself I'm going to see this as the cure-all or the fix-all, and that I was going to just see myself as completely done, which I think was a good thing. The attitude that someday I will get magically fixed and that I will be worthy of friendship and love is a really bad mentality, and it's kind of the same as like an eating disorder or like anything else. Is like you have this ideal that you're just never gonna meet, and you're never gonna be perfect, and you deserve love at any and every stage of your life. So that was one of the best, like, mental decisions I've made. Oh, another thing that I completely forgot to talk about is the fact that one of the major reasons I've always felt so self-conscious was because there has been like zero representation that I've seen. The first time I read about a character with a cleft lip, it actually changed my life. And it was the first and last time. And it was around that surgery that I had. So I think that was definitely part of that mindset that contributed to it. And it was, I think, The Keeper of Lost Things. It was that book, and the love interest in that book had a cleft, and the author mentioned it so casually that I realized that my whole life I've been being daft, and that most people probably don't care. That was just a really, like, mind-blowing moment to me. I know a lot of people are like, oh, things are going so woke, there's too much representation of random things. Like, I don't think forced representation is good, but I also think that people underestimate how much representation does mean. And I understand that things that I feel good about in terms of myself, like maybe my hair or my body, they are all things that I only feel good about because they are what's prevalent in the media. I moved out of my parents' house. I had the great opportunity to move in with my mum's friend because she had a spare room, and I think that was a great restart for me. I moved to Oxford from a small town, and Oxford is a lot more accepting. It has a lot more immigrants. It's a lot more... I felt like I belonged a lot more, and in addition to, like, sixth form just being slightly, like, calmer, I guess more intelligent people. Because of that, I got a big friend group. I was really, really happy. I was really outgoing. I was happy. I was happy, but I was also I was acting a bit manic, I would say. There was some, like, self-destructive kind of aspects to this, like, happiness. I think that comes from the fact that I was really depressed beforehand, and I didn't speak to people much, so I had no idea how to act and how to be this new person. And I also didn't really know how to feel happy and how to experience this whole, like, everything world that I kind of found myself in. I had a bunch of trouble with, like, dating and things like that because obviously my self-esteem wasn't low, but because of these years of seeing myself as, like, a second-class citizen, I was kind of confused when I started getting, like, attention from guys. I realized that after this kind of year of my life being quite a big mess, I realized that, and I definitely knew that it was partly because I didn't think that I would ever date anyone. And I definitely knew that it was because I still had this feeling that I wasn't good enough to be a proper girl, and other girls were somehow better than me or, like, more perfect than me just because of this one thing. At the end of that school year, at the end of sixth form, I realized that I had to, like, change something about my life again. I made a lot of conscious decisions about how I wanted to act and what kind of person I wanted to be, and a lot more focused on self-improvement. So it's been 3 years since sixth form, and I still feel like there are a lot of things I should work on that are a result of me having a cleft. So I still feel like I'm struggling to be myself. I feel like a lot of people feel that in their 20s. I also have ADHD, so I do mirror people a lot, and I'm sure the cleft didn't help with that. Yeah, that is something I'm working on. I do still feel a bit self-conscious about it sometimes. I wish my nose was more symmetrical. Sometimes I feel better about it. Recently I've been feeling quite good about it, but if I go on Instagram for too long, it fries my brain. My nose also has, like, a slight hump, which I was really self-conscious about for a while. But again, recently I've been feeling slightly better about it, so that's great. I might still get the fat transfer to my lip, and I might be getting braces again if that's an option, because my teeth are slightly crooked, and if that's something they offer, that would be great. Currently, I feel like most of the life struggles I have don't have anything to do with this, which I think is great because for most of my life this has been the biggest issue to me, which I know probably sounds crazy. Let me know if you're dealing with something similar. I hope that you can get over your self-conscious feeling, because honestly most people don't even realize. Thank you so much for watching. Please share your experiences in the comments, and we will be back to normal art videos soon. Bye bye.